All right, last night the NFL season started.
Yep.
The outcome of that game, Kansas City covering at home, does that change your opinion on? A lot of people picked the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl, Kansas City to go to the Super Bowl. Those seems to be the two hot picks. What do you thought?
I think neither of those teams are what they're going to be a month from now. Quite honestly, I think we saw glimpses of it with Kansas City. One of the things that I just talking to Chiefs people over the last 5 or 6 weeks is they were really excited about what their offense was going to look like, which I think you saw glimpses of it last night, right? I think we see what Rashee Rice can be, and we'll see what happens with his criminal case and everything else. But for right now, like, you're seeing him take another step.
Right. What is the charge against him? Because there's quite a few in the air.
Street racing.
Remember the video of him walking away from that massive car crash?
Like
the one in Texas.
I don't know what
Texas
it is.
He'll get away with it.
I don't know what it is. I mean, you see it at the University of Georgia, obviously a ton, but the street racing that like problems that football players have, I don't get. Like,
did they have that when you were a kid?
What, the
street racing?
Well, I mean, you heard about it, but it was like so many guys have gotten in trouble now that it's like, how does it keep happening?
M59. Were you familiar with that, Hardy? M59.
That was a racetrack.
It wasn't, but
in Michigan.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, it was a patch of road.
Yeah.
Like, but it was.
That was like a country, like a rural road where like
once you got out of Oxford, yeah,
a little bit. It was the Sterling Heights area, right? Like a little past Sterling Heights. Okay, Brenner. But it was a real road.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like in like a farm. Like it was like a real road, M59, Michigan 59. And it was a lot different than now with different cars. But these like Heschers would like race for papers, and they would soup up their muscle cars and go out there and really power through. I like that it's coming back to that. I wonder if they have Def Leppard Coke mirrors too. I wonder if they're if they have a keg in the back where they put the tube around so they can drink out of it.
So do you follow what happened at Georgia at all with all of this? Yeah. I mean, and it's like someone died a year and a half ago, and Jalen Carter, was like tangentially involved with that. And then it keeps happening at Georgia, and I and Rashee Rice is another case where, there was an assault charge that happened after the street racing thing. And there's just sort of like this knucklehead thing with him where there were signs of it when he was in college, which is part of the file that every team had on him. And the Chiefs, like a lot like the Patriots used to operate, have taken a lot of these risks. You know what I mean? Like they've taken on, and we've seen it, over the course of the last few years, where when you have that sort of quarterback and that sort of coach and that sort of program, you can absorb risk. I mean, the year the Patriots took on Albert Hainsworth and Chad Ochocinco, both those, like, they got nothing out of those two, and they still went to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of what the Chiefs are. You know what I mean? Like, where the Chiefs can take these sorts of risks, but we can see what Rice can be. And really, like, the idea was, and to kind of take this back to the whole concept of, and it's not like this, the Patriots invented this, but in 07, what New England was, with Moss over the top, and then Welker running wide open in these huge spaces underneath that were created by teams giving attention to Moss deep. That's sort of the concept of what the Chiefs want to become. And we got to see pieces of it with Xavier Worthy last night. When they have Hollywood Brown, who dislocated his shoulder, who will be back in about a month, we're going to see the full scope of it, which is they feel like they're going to be a lot better offensively this year than they have been the last couple of years, which is crazy because they won back-to-back Super Bowls when they have all of that. The Ravens are replacing 3 offensive linemen, and I think we saw that last night.
Yeah.
Did you guys think Derrick Henry didn't look the same?
Well, he didn't look the same on the opening drive, and I was happy to see him get in the touchdown just because, if you've got guys that you're going to, watch, and I wouldn't call him, appointment viewing anymore, but still, there's someone I'm interested in watching. I don't want to see him stuck at the line for a loss.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see it. But no, like a lot of running backs, a couple of years after, they...
And the amount mileage, like how...
Well, they shocked the world, and then you're like, it's hard to believe that this guy was, like one of the most lethal offensive weapons in the conference just, 3 years ago?
I mean, we'll see what happens with him, and then, lost 60% of their offensive line from the AFC title game. So Morgan Moses is with the Jets, John Simpson's with the Jets, and Kevin Zeitler's with the Lions. So that's a lot to replace in an important area where communication's key, and they're replacing those three guys.
No, one's with the Giants, right?
No, two of them with the Jets, one of them with the Lions. John
Kansas
Simpson,
City has a guy in the Giants now.
No,
offensive lineman.
No, the Ravens.
No. But I thought someone had gone to
the Giants. The Giants pursued. So the Giants wound up with one of the Packers' offensive linemen.
Oh, that's okay. Tonight's game. I'm sorry. I thought I'd heard that. I apologize. Go ahead. I was trying to sound smart.
Yeah. But that's a lot to replace. So I don't think the Ravens are basically banking on their ability to develop talent. There are three starting offensive linemen. One of them is a rookie. Another one's second year. Another one's third year. All three guys are starters for the first time. So I think you could expect that might not look quite right, and it didn't. So I think both those teams will be there at the end, but I don't think we got a full view of what either of those teams is going to do.
As long as the Ravens don't lean on Derrick Henry for a lot. I mean, there is, and you know this, Bert, there's an expiration date on running backs. And
I think the other kid looked pretty good. I think Justice Hill looks
he looks okay, but I mean, Derrick Henry is at that expiration date, and he has more mileage on him than most, and it started back in high school and went through college. Man, that guy's taken a lot of hits over his life.
Yep.
You know what was interesting out of the running backs changing places, and I might be on an island here. I didn't think much. I'm with you guys. Derrick Henry's taking a lot of hits. He's all of that.
This is his 9th year, I think.
Yeah, so, it's time. But what do you think of Saquon Barkley on Philadelphia? Could that be?
And that's going to be really interesting.
Yes,
because he has injury mileage.
Mm-hmm.
He's now going into year 7, right? So he's not young either.
But
they're not going to lean on him because they've got a lot of other pieces on that offense, right?
Yeah, they have three stud receivers.
I mean, yeah, they have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown and Jahan Dotson coming in as their number 3 and Dallas Goedert at tight end. So, and then they have Jalen Hurts, which I think in both the case of Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, one thing that I think helps them a little bit is that the quarterback's a run threat. So that should open up things for those guys in the run game where those guys might have to do a little bit less.
It almost seems like Saquon Barkley, because of the injuries, and it might be counterintuitive, just doesn't have the amount of carries.
Exactly.
And that's right.
That was my point. He missed an entire year 1 year, and that's got to help him as he moves into his late 20s.
Right, but injuries are cumulative too, which so you're talking about one bucket and the other bucket and how that all matches up.
Sure.
So watching last night and watching the offensive lines, you can assume or you can predict that Baltimore can continue to get away with a lot of this stuff because of who they have at quarterback. Kind of reminds me of the conversations we've had about the Patriots over the years. What are they going to do on the line? Well, with this quarterback, maybe you don't have to do as much because to me that seems to be a fool's errand because ideally – with Lamar Jackson is if he's not forced to run for his life every other play, that's going to be better for him long term. It's going to be better for the team's success. And while he bailed them out time and time again, of course he was their leading rusher again last night. That's not something that A, you would plan for, or B, think you can get away with for very long.
It's just hard because again, and I think this is one thing we talked about this with the Patriots, right? Well, why couldn't they just go why couldn't they just go buy an offense? There aren't enough of them. Yeah. And when you have good ones, you hang on to them. Look at what the Ravens did. The Ravens, I mean, they lost 60% of their line, but they still have their left tackle and center, right? So they still have a high-end left tackle in Ronnie Stanley, who's not what he used to be, but still a lot of experience in the league, and Linderbaum at center, who's one of the best centers in football. And they're relying on, we've developed these other guys for 2 or 3 years. We do have the rookie right tackle, so we're projecting a little bit there. But their gamble is, this is going to look a lot different in week 10 than it looks in week 1. And, I think with Lamar, part of it is the reality of, once you pay your quarterback, it's going to look a little bit different around him,
Yeah.
And so, now that he's, into his second contract, you're going to have more guys on rookie contracts playing. That's where they have to rely on Zay Flowers. They have to rely on Isaiah Likely. That's
financially, it's the exact opposite of what you would wish for. Now we have this high-paid quarterback. We got to protect him. we can't afford to protect them, not to the level
so
that,
4 starting linemen on rookie contracts, right? Like their top 2 skill players on rookie contracts, say Flowers and Isaiah Likely. And then they spend most of their money on defense, right? Like that's sort of what it is. That's the model the Patriots used forever, which was we'll spend on defense, we'll spend on some offensive linemen, and then, Tom, you got to kind of make up for the rest.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.